Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. My name is Shaheen Sayadi. Um, I'm a theater maker. I'm a writer, actor, director for a stage. And a while ago, I decided that I want to do this very limited broadcasting online. And we just started doing this since last week. And the idea is to occupy more and more space online by people of color and talking about things that are important to us. And we'll be talking in these conversations about arts, culture, life, and the politics of what's happening in our communities all over the Turtle Island. Um, Last week, um, in East Coast, northeast of the Turtle Island, in Nova Scotia, in Mi'kmaq, there was again Mi'kmaq were exercising just about 2 weeks ago. Mi'kmaq were exercising their right for fishing and referring to the 1752 treaty. And there was again intimidation, bullying, straight up terrorist acts by some commercial fishers to stop the Mi'kmaq from going on the water, cutting their traps, and barricading them in spaces in their cars, putting one of the fishing facilities on fire, and intimidating people. And it has resulted to serious conflicts. Last week, I talked to two people. We talked about the 1752 treaty, and we heard from those two guests that things are different now. We see a very different leadership within the communities. We see people united. We see support from all over Turtle Island, from all the way from north to the south and to east and west. And both of our guests saw a different future coming out of this. And one important thing that was expressed by them was that there will not be any new negotiations about any of this. The treaties explain exactly what the rights of the Mi'kmaq are in the Treaty of the 1752, and they're going to continue with that. And the treaty is between the nation and the crown, and then we'll not be sitting down and negotiating on it. This week, I want to change the focus of the talk a little bit. We'll still be talking about those issues, but I want to see what's happening actually in the communities. How is this, all of these conflicts are affecting people in the communities? What are people telling their children? What is the psychological and emotional impact of this kind of conflict? So I'm going to bring our guest, and then we'll be joined by others. And this is Amanda Francis. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Of course, it's an honor to have you here and giving us your time and sharing your thoughts with us. Amanda, please tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us where you're coming to us from.
Okay, I'm coming to you from Burn Church, New Brunswick. So I'm a little bit removed from what's happening down in Nova Scotia. Like I'm not hands on or anything like that. Um, I I'm a fisherwoman myself. I've been fishing on the water since 2005 with Danny, my man, and we have one daughter, Gigbason. And other than that, I spend my time as a sun dancer and um, avid knitter, and just that's me. So, but the issues that are going on right now, I So from the time I was little, we always heard about things about our rights, everything like that. It's been a big part of my family always. My great grandfather, Mimi Dada, he he went out fishing on his little boat, and DFO tried to arrest him and take his nets, and they had to tow his little boat back into the right up to the wharf in Rishabukto. And he went to court and he was fined, and he never paid his fine because he knew, like, these, I know, like, when things happened in 1999 and things were affirmed, everything like that, I think that those of us who know it, who live it, like the fishing and the hunting and, even things with the forest, everything like that, it's not just a government thing and an us thing. It's part of us. That's why it's hard for other people outside to understand, because it's just part of us. So this has been something that's been part of my life right from the time I was little, like hearing my grandparents talk or my uncles and things like that. So like, even when everything happened here in Burnt Church in 2000, my uncle was, I was doing a lot of work with my uncle at the time, Brian Francis, uh, when he was getting his documentary series together, everything like that. But my dad and my uncle were here quite often when the fishing crisis was happening here in Burnt Church. I was from Elzebuktuk, and they would bring me here often. So I got to like experience a lot of what was going on here hands on. And it's just, all these issues are just part of who I am, I guess.
You're saying you're not in middle of it, but you're actually in Burn Church, and you fish from Burn Church, and that was the scene of the last time we had this happen. And I remember coming down with my wife. We went to Burn Church, and that's where we met your husband, Danny, and his brother first time, and it was quite a shocking scene. What we saw, people were fishing, and the DFO boats were ramming against them, cutting their traps, and straight up endangering people's lives on the water. We saw that, and here it's happening again. And here you're saying that this trauma didn't start for you and others since you were born. This was it's always been an issue. How does it feel to be living on your own land, knowing that you and your people have the right to the land and its resources, and yet always worrying that when the man and woman go on the water or go hunting, they might be their life might be in danger?
It's like, sometimes it's fine, like, you just get used to it. It's just life. That's how life is. Life is hard, and you have to work extra hard just to do, like, your job, or just to do the things that you always do, that your ancestors did, that everything like that. So, but sometimes it's okay. But like, even last Sunday, I had a bad day. It's just like any other trauma that you've had, like, sometimes you're good and then sometimes you have bad days. So I had a bad day. Just everything, the injustice of it all was overwhelming. When I see, like, I know what happened here. When it was here, it was RCMP and DFO were attacking the people. Like, when you hear Danny tell his story, it was like they were trying to kill him. They were pepper spraying him and hitting him, and his boat was sinking under his feet. Like, they were trying to kill him. So, I think of all that, and how at that time they were just putting into action the affirmation of the treaty right.
Mm-hmm.
And now the DFO and RCMP are not going after the fishermen there. It's non-native commercial fishermen going full on Duke boys right out against, and there's nothing being done to them. Like it was overwhelming. And I was looking back at even in 2013 in Rexton when the water protectors were just doing a peaceful protest. Yes, they were blocking the road, but there were grandmothers there drumming, and the RCMP sent in like riot police, 50 or more in full gear with, shields and batons and pepper spray. And they batoned and pepper sprayed grandmothers. Like, so Sunday, I was just reflecting on all of that, and I was really overwhelmed. So what got me through in the end was that I sat down and I did my pipe and I prayed, and I know like my me dada and my mimi dada who fought their whole lives for our rights and everything like that. I know that they would do whatever they can from the other side to help whatever's going on there and to help me get through the day, and be at peace with it, and just ask that positive things come from it. Always. And so whenever I get overwhelmed, that's where I go. I have to. That's what gets me through. Smudging, praying, talking it out with Danny, all that.
And I can see your smudge is going on right now, and
yeah, of course.
I really thank you for sharing this with us, and I ask everybody who's listening, please share this. And if you come back later on when you see the recorded one, please share this. We're trying to put a different conversation out there that is not filtered and censored by the media, that they focus on certain areas of this important conversation, and we're trying to give people a different perspective on these issues. So please, if you can, share now. If you come later and see this, share it then, and tell people, because that's the only way to get through this. Talking about it. Everybody really understands what's going on. Amanda, I want to bring another guest, but before we do that, I just want you to give us a quick picture of your regular day. What is it you do? You get up early in the morning, and I have come actually on the boat with you and Danny. Just give us a quick picture of it. What is your day? I mean, so, you yes.
I'll tell you. So during fishing, when fishing's happening, like we fish at a certain season, everything like that, or that's our when we fish during our season. This is which we usually do. We don't usually do food fishing. We like the community here has a really good program, and we do whatever. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But that's besides the point. Okay, so when we're fishing during our season, we're up usually around 2:30 in the morning. We're getting ready. We get our stuff together, and our daughter, who is 14, she also comes to fish with us whenever she's not in school. Like if it's on the weekend or she has a break, she's fishing with us. This year, she fished the whole season. So she's up too at 2:30 in the morning. We just get our stuff together. We usually leave the house by, right around 3:15, something like that. Pick up our other worker and head to the wharf. Our wharf is about 20 minutes away. And then just do our fishing. We, cut our bait, do everything. We, once we get going and the sun starts to rise, Danny offers tobacco every morning, and we pray and give thanks to Creator for our catch, because we believe that we can't take anything without making an offering to ensure that we're not hurting what's going on. The tobacco is there as our offering for Creator to replace what we've taken and to give thanks for it, because without the sacrifice of those lobster, that's our livelihood, that's our that keeps us living, that keeps us helping our daughter to have a good life, helping us to have a good life, everything like that. So by offering that tobacco to Creator, that's our giving thanks and ensuring that we're going to still continue from year after year to be able to do this. So that
Amanda,
is
your
a big part of our day.
Amanda, your daughter, she's very accomplished in the school and sports, community activities, everything. She doesn't need to go on the boat. She doesn't need to go on the water. But you and Danny have chosen that she comes and she goes willingly. Why is it important to your family? Why is it important to your family that she knows this?
It's everything. It's like, I think, me dad was a fisherman, my Mimi dad was a fisherman, my dad was a fisherman, Danny's dad was a fisherman. Like, it's part of us. And not only that, it teaches her that, like, things are not handed to you. You have to work for them. You have to earn them, everything like that. And like, even now she says, well, they're on a school schedule where they're just going every second day. And she's already talking about fishing. Like, well, maybe I'll be able to go on days when I'm not in school. It's like, well, I don't know. You're getting up at 2:00 in the morning one day and then going to school the next. We'll have to wait and see. But it's just, and you can even see, because she wants to go so badly, even though it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to get
Oh,
up.
I've done it. It's so difficult, and I mean, it's straight up dangerous and cold, and it's a very, very hard job.
Yeah, it's,
and you get up so early in the morning.
every day, and there's no like, it's hardcore for the time like that we do it. We smudge every morning. That's another thing we do. As we're leaving the dock, we make sure the whole crew smudges, everything like that, to be safe. We follow all the guidelines we're supposed to follow, everything. We want to do everything right, and good and everything like that. So, we get back to the wharf probably 1 o'clock, and then do whatever we have to do at home. And if Gikbasan this year, she didn't have any activities, so that wasn't as difficult. We got to go to bed earlier, but when she does have activities, then she'll go do those as well. So it's but I think it's just part of us, and I think it's important for her to know that, this is who we are. It's part of who we are. This
and it's not just this, it's also a big part of the ceremonies and other activities that your family does.
Yeah. She is, yeah. I just Danny's brother gave a talk the other day. It's somewhere he's in British Columbia, but he was saying that, and I just thought of it now, that like 1752, that's when
Please tell us his name so everybody can find the reference.
Sugedge Ward. You'll find somewhere. It's on Facebook or Instagram. Different people have posted it. It might even be on our Facebook as well. But he was saying that, we talk about 1752, and this is when the peace and friendship treaties were signed. And they were signed because the colonizers could not colonize. They could only stay on their forts. They couldn't, when they tried to get out, they would just be, we would attack them. That's just the way it was. But that we didn't just start fishing 1752. It was all the way back to the beginning of who we are. That fishing for us, hunting, and even like just the birch bark that we used, our relationship with the trees and the land, just everything. It's just part of us. Everything
It's
here
amazing that this has to be
is
explained
part of
to
us.
some people.
Mm-hmm. That it's not.
It amazes me that some people, they are just,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just.
Amanda, I want to bring Kayla Nevin online, and
I know Kayla.
so hello, Kayla.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for being with us.
Not a problem.
Kayla, please tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us where you're coming to us from.
I am a single mom living in Elsabuktuk. I have two beautiful girls that I raise. And for me, it's coming from a mother's perspective. A lot of it is how do you explain to your children about everything that's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my aspect of it is how do I educate my children with the racism and the the hatefulness that is this subject has brought in towards our people.
It was last month you put something on social media about this very issue.
Mm-hmm.
I just I couldn't sleep that night. I was so taken by the way you said it, and talking about the color of the skin, and the darkness of the skin of your daughters, and that even though you shouldn't have to, but you are forced to explain to them that they need to be aware of this issue, and how you're gonna make sure that you protect them under all this racism and all these attacks, and now here again, something like this happens. How do you take this home?
It's hard for sure, especially I mean like with my family is out there, so the videos that have been shown, and I can hear my family members in the background, or I see the videos of them in altercations and things like that, and it's hard for me. And it's especially hard because I look at my kids and I know that this is what we're going through right now, but I can't even imagine that, like, what it's going to be like in 10 years if it doesn't improve, or 15 years or 20 years, when they get to the age that I am now. I can't imagine what life is going to be like for them, if this doesn't improve.
Mm-hmm. And how can we improve this? What do we need to do?
To me, I feel like for schooling systems, like right now, there's a generation that doesn't understand what a treaty is, that hasn't read or hasn't looked into it. I feel like if we implement like our culture, not just Micmac, but our treaty rights and everything, like if they were to learn and teach that in school, I feel like there would be a whole different view of it in another 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
In all schools.
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
not just our schools, but non-native schools, all schools. Yeah,
Exactly.
they need to know. I think that and this issue should help, like the 1752 treaty. It's got to be taught. You know what I mean? Like you said, and not only that, but there's the 1755, the expulsion of the Acadians, that needs to be taught too. The Acadian people need to remember that when they were in trouble in 1755, and they were being taken on boats and taken to Louisiana and taken back to France and taken to the to Boston and all these different places, that the Acadians are still here because our people hid them, and our ancestors took care of them and saved them here. So that's why they're still here. And I think that needs to be taught as well in French schools, English schools, and our schools. And that will help heal that broken relationship that there is now, I think. Anyway, back to Kayla.
Yeah. Kayla, last week, and I believe you saw that conversation. I was talking to two people. One of them is your cousin, and both of these men were very hopeful about the future. They both spoke about that there's a new leadership, that there's new unity amongst people, and they see a different way of moving people forward. Do you see the same? Do you see a more hopeful future?
I as a mom, I have a whole different aspect on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be hopeful when all you've seen is conflict. If there was conflict back in Burnt Church, and everything, it all stems down to conflict, right? So it's hard for me as a mom to be hopeful for my kids because that's all I've seen my whole life. I would hope that it would improve. I would hope that it would change. Like that would be the ultimate thing. But do I see it happening without non-natives being more educated? I can't see it.
Amanda, I wanted to leave this for the end of our conversation to ask you this same question. But now that, Kayla's giving us a different view on this, what do you think, Amanda?
I'm like, I believe what Kayla believes too, that there needs to be education across the board. I think it's just starting a little bit, like they're changing the curriculum and there's new curriculum requirements as far as including residential schools and things like that. But it could be regional specific as well, because 1752, that's us, that's here. So maybe Quebec has a little bit different, and maybe Ontario has a little bit different, but it needs to be out there. The education needs to be there. And I think, and this is the thing, and it came, like you heard a lot about it during Black Lives Matter, that it's not our job to do the educating. It's, as Native people, it's not our job to do the educating. It's the job of, if you say there's no systemic racism, then you need to look a little bit further, and you need to work on that. Go and look up, if you're wondering and you feel bad, then go find what 1752 treaty is. Find what led up to it. Why did that happen? But I think, and I like what Kayla said too, I totally agree that there needs to be something in the school from the time that kids are young, and not like in our schools too. I think that, my daughter could know more about the treaties and things like that. And she comes from a family where we talk about it, but real education on it. And I agree 100%. As far as the future goes, I'm hopeful, because I do see things here and there. When something happens, though, the amount of racism on social media is crazy. And that's part, like we have to take it hurts your heart, like literally hurts your heart. That's what was happening to me last Sunday. My heart was broken. It hurts your heart when you see the treatment, like I said, like in Rexton, how they treated our people when they were grandmothers drumming and singing, and they were batoned and pepper sprayed. But these non-native commercial fishermen attacked people, destroyed their property, burned buildings, and whatever, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? The total imbalance of it is heart-wrenching. So it's got to start, like when you're building a house, if you only put up 20% of the bricks, the house is going to fall down. So it's got to start in schools. It's got to start with all kinds, things like that. I agree with Kayla, but in a way I'm hopeful as well. I see I'm a big part of the knitting community, and I see a lot of the ladies there are very supportive. Like, they've done a lot of sharing of different posts and different things, and different people are doing things to raise money and things like that. So there are definitely ins. There are ins to different, not just knitting communities, but different places. There are ins that I think maybe, the Black Lives Matter movement have started to open little doors here and there. And I think that here in Canada, I do believe that we need to have we need more doors to be open, for sure, in order for there to be an improvement in the future. And I think we have to ride the little avenues and, build on that, and as well as the education.
Kayla, before you go, would you like to add anything? And also, if you specifically anything for other young women in Mi'kmaq and communities affected by all of these issues.
To me, I feel like the conversation has to start somewhere, especially with your children. And that's one thing that I have done with my daughter now, is I've sat down and talked to her about a little bit of what is going on. I mean, I do censor some things that are going on, but I think that was where I was I was put at a halt, because I wasn't sure exactly how much to tell her and what could I tell her without her being afraid of being who she is, afraid of being, the color of what she is. And that, to me, I feel like the conversation has to start somewhere. I mean, and it's sad, but it's a conversation that a parent has to have.
I always say that the racism is learned around the dinner table before our children get to school, and I'm glad you're saying the same thing. It's got to start early with our children, everybody, and yeah. Kayla, again, I'm really sorry for the way you feel about in middle of all of this. I don't pretend to understand how you feel about all of this. I'm down. I'm immigrant to this land, and nothing close to the racism against me and discrimination against me is nothing close to what has been against you and your people, especially the women. Again, I'm really sorry about the way you feel in the middle of all of this. And here we're trying to get different voices out there. So if you're watching, or if you're going to come and watch later, please share, talk about these things. Kayla, thank you very much. Sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
Can I ask Kayla a question before she goes?
Of course.
If you would just share a little bit about what happened to you at the hospital.
Yes,
we were
please.
talking about today.
Yeah.
Oh, so I had went into the hospital yesterday, and they I'm not sure which part, because there's two different things. I have two different, I am hopeful in certain aspects, and that's where I'm butting heads. But one of them was, I went to the hospital yesterday and I didn't get the treatment that I should have. I was treated very poorly. I walked in there and I was in visible pain. And the only reason that I had went in there was to better myself. And ultimately that's my goal at the end of the day, is to better myself, because I have two little girls. So all I wanted was to be better. And the doctor had accused me of only going there for pain medication. He refused to look at me. He didn't examine me. He didn't nothing. He just assumed that because I am, Native, I am Mi'kmaq, that I was there for an addiction that I had. And that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to be better. I wanted to finally get the answers that I was looking for. But on a positive note as well, there is negative and there is positive. When I had went last week for my daughter, when she was in the hospital, and I was already feeling really kind of hostile. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen, because with all of this going on, you don't know how a non-native is going to approach you or how they're going to react to you or your presence, right? So I was kind of iffy on going because, you know, but it was my daughter, so I had to go. And there was 2 non-native ladies, and they couldn't get enough of my daughter, and they just kept, you know, looking at her and trying to peek at her, and just, you know, it was like there was no color, you know. And before we had left, it was an older lady and her mother, or yeah, it was an older lady who was the mother, and there was a daughter, and the daughter had come up and she had offered us $20, and she said, you know, this is from my mother. She really enjoyed watching your daughter. Like, she thought she was really cute and she was really good, so she wants you to go over and spend something, like buy her a treat from us. And that was nice as well, because I mean, with all the negatives in that this issue has brought, and there also is positives to it, you know. And that was my experience at the hospital.
Thank you for sharing that. I can understand that must have been very difficult, but I think it's important to say it, and thank you for saying it. Kayla, before you go, I think it's important that you say something about your family and what your mother and father and you know, what they do in the annual ceremony.
Well, my father is White Eagle Sundance Chief, and he has never taken drugs. He has never touched alcohol, and me and my 2 younger siblings have also followed the same route of what he is. He's a very spiritual man, and you know, we have been
William Nevin.
Yes, William Nevin. We have been able to, you know, learn things that he has taught us over the years with spirituality and with and it gives you great pride of being who you are. I mean, like, you can say that I'm Micmac, but you know, anybody can say that. It's the actions of what, you know, leads up to it. It's what you do. It's the pride that you have in your culture and your spirituality. And my mother, she is she works for Indian residential school survivors. So she helps out with you know, trying to clean up the damage that the government has done to our people. And those are my family.
Thank you very much, Kayla. I really appreciate that sharing with us, as difficult as it is to talk about them, but thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Bye. Love you.
Please, if you're watching, please share. We're putting a conversation out there that is usually not done in our usual media. Please share. These are very important conversations. The more conversations, as you're hearing from people, the easier it will be for all of us. I'm going to bring Dorene Bernard as our next guest. And hello, Dorene. I think your sound is muted, Dorene.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good,
Good to
thank
see
you.
you.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Yes, it's very good to see you. Dorene, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're coming to us from.
Well, my name is Gesadam Dandali Illinois, and Gilnet Clan, Sibagnegri, Mi'kmaq. Where I'm from, what I do. Well, I am a water protector and water walker, and a survivor of residential school, and a grassroots grandmother. And that's how I identify, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us, Dorene. There are videos out there, and you're in middle of the phase. You know, the last time this happened, you know, it started from Burn Church, and then down in Nova Scotia, you were in middle of it. Again, you're in middle of it. Please tell us a little bit about what's actually happening. Even though there's a order from the court, I don't believe things have settled. But just give us a real picture of what happened and what's happening. What's the feeling right now on the ground in the community?
Well, yeah. So when I was down there in September 14th, I went down after seeing the call out and the videos about the. This was prior to the launching of our treaty fishery, and there was already trouble on the wharf where our non-native fishers were coming in by the truckloads, and they were intimidating our fishers and our people on the wharf. And what I understood was that they had threatened to burn the boats, and they were trying to dislodge the floating dock away from the wharf, trying to take the bolts out, and it was a big call out for people to go down. I went down right away. My son is one of the fishers down there. He was the first one on the boat that left. The first boat that went out to treaty fish that on the 17th after the ceremony to launch the fishing, and the tags were received. They went out fishing, and so I climbed up on the rocks like everybody went up onto the rocks to watch them go out. And what I saw was like David and Goliath. You see hundreds of boats out there and one boat going out. And it was a smaller boat than what we saw out there. It's huge commercial fishing boats, and they started to move in on as they were going out. They kept going, and they were swarmed, surrounded by these boats. You could see from the wharf. It was terrifying, and all I could do was pray. I remember Donna Augustine got up on top of the rocks, and she started to pray, and she started to sing, and we sang with her, and we prayed for those our people that were going into that, and just prayed that they wouldn't be rammed and they wouldn't be hurt out there. That was the beginning, like of to see what they were going to do and what they were capable of. The police, the DFO was in the air. The police was out there, but nothing was done. Nobody was charged, and we thought for sure, they would be bringing charges against some of those fishers. Out of 100, they could have got 1 or 2. Nobody. And so our time down there was every day. It was waiting for them. They would come to the gate. We had to put up. They were calling them blockades, but they weren't blockades. They were checkpoints. We were letting people in, but we were finding out what their business was on the wharf first. And some people got through. Others were turned away, and we faced down. Truckloads of angry fishermen every day during that weekend. All we could do was to sing, to drum. I smudged them. We smudged, and we did what we felt we needed to do to keep our people safe. The police were there. They didn't make any arrests, but they were there to observe, I guess. We wondered what they were doing, what their role was. It didn't seem like they had a mandate, but just to be present. And then last month down at the lobster pound, a few weeks ago at the lobster pound, when they after Jason's what happened out in West Pubnico, to that wharf, and to that pound, and to our people out there. We went down to the one in New Edinburgh Road, and we were standing on the front line there, and there was hundreds of fishermen, and they were all drinking and getting braver by the minute. And really verbalizing, a lot of racist and really vulgar comments to the women. They were trying everything to get our men to react and to fight. It was really, oh, I guess when you face the face of racism right in your face. They were building spike belts out of nails and wood, and to put across the road if anybody tried to leave, or if anybody.
Yeah.
They were doing like in front of the cops, everything. It was. So I went around with my camera and took a few pictures, and then I got my smudge bowl. It was just, yeah, it was overwhelming. As a mother, as a woman, as a grandmother, as an elder.
And your son out there.
Yeah, my cousins, my family, my community
your whole community. Yeah.
So
Amanda, sorry,
I had my cousins, girls. They're youth. They're young women.
How old?
And 17, 18. They fish with their dad, their mom. And hearing them being really speaking up for themselves, and really, trying to educate ignorant people. It was really sad. It was really sad that to see our people like so under attack, and holding back to and I told him that was protecting us, that our ancestors are here, and don't let them draw you into what they want you to do. They want you to be like them, don't even talk to them. I said, and then as I was smudging, an older man knocked the smudge bowl out of my hand and said some, really vulgar things to me. But I just picked it up, and I had more smudge in my pocket, and I just lit it up, and I kept it going, and I kept turning around on our people and smudging them, and then I would turn around on the line and smudge all those the non-native fishers and the people who were speaking. It was a long, over 6 or 8 hours of that same, the same thing. Meanwhile, they were drinking and getting more vulgar and more closer and closer until they were they were trying to push their way down past the line. We pushed them back, we were able to do that. And I really believe it was from the tobacco line that we put down, the sage, the cedar, the medicines that we had, to put that line of protection down. There was so many close calls of getting altercations because they were pushing, and our people were beginning to push back, and I put my hand up. One of the men, Jimmy, he was pushing by, and this banged into this man, and he pushed him, and he didn't even budge him. He just stood there. And then I put my hand up on Jimmy's belly, and I just told him, no, no, don't do that. and he went back, and he just spun around and walked away. And this man was telling me to hit him, hit me, and
Yeah.
and
And that's what they were looking for. I mean, we heard it from a lot of people that they were trying to entice the young. They were trying to entice the young Mi'kmaq to retaliate, and
then he just Madonna was standing behind me, and she just said, "She's not going to hit you. She's going to smudge you." And when I started smudging him, he took off. But that's they were afraid of those medicines. You know, they were afraid of that. They complained about the smell. They did really. But you know, over that time, during that time, I was able to speak to one of the women, one of the women, I guess, wife or partner of one of the fishermen, and we were just talking across this line, and I had this smudge bowl in my hand, and I was telling her, you know, why is it after 200 years that the Acadian people want to declare war on the Mi'kmaq? You know, we were allies for 200 years. You know, what's changed? And she said, yeah, that's right. I said, yeah. I said, well, I wonder what's changed. Is it greed? What is it? You know, these are our unceded Mi'kmaq. This is our territory. These are our lands and our waters. We shared with everyone. Now we want to use our resources to sustain ourselves, and it's a problem with you.
The percentage that the Mi'kmaq are fishing is 0.003%
Right.
of the fishing out there.
Yeah. It's so outrageous when you look at the numbers. It's just so outrageous that this is really an issue. And one of the men told me, we just want to be equal. We just want to be equal. And I said, good, that would be good. We'll fish 50 traps. You fish 50 traps. You fish 50 traps. And I pointed to several of them standing in front of me, and they told me, no effing way. You know, they were like, they got really
unbelievable that
about it. They got really offended. I said, well, that's equal. What do you want from us? You know? And yeah, so they stepped away, like, and then somebody else would step in their place, and it was just an all day, really exhausting. I had left, I got there in the morning, and I left there at 9:30 at night. And there was other altercations after that, you know, where they were throwing rocks and, you know, they were still trying to entice our people to fight. And I have to, I'm so proud of our people for not retaliating, because I know it took everything they could to hold that, you know, that line and just say that they are doing the right thing, and they're doing this. They're thinking about their future, of their children and their grandchildren. And, you know, we are exerting our rights. You know, I told that woman, I remember I said, you know, it's not your fault. It's not the fault of the fishermen or Canadians. I said, that don't know our history. Well, that's the fault of the government. That's part of the assimilation process of residential schools. I said, genocide. That's been always the policy, is to exterminate or erase the indigenous people off their lands, and to absorb them into, you know, Canadian society. I said, it's not your fault. It hasn't been taught. Look how long it took to teach about the residential school era, you know, and what it's done to our people. And we are still working on educating people regarding that part of our historic trauma. So I mean, a lot of Canadians, like the ones I was speaking to, I told them, you probably never got this in school. And they admitted it. They didn't.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, and your parents didn't either, you know. And you're lucky if your children will get this kind of education, because we're still
And
developing
people
this.
are still not getting it. The issue is systemic.
Yes.
Mhm.
And not only the fishermen's families and their, in that area, it's all over. It's in the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. It's in government, all government. We're still doing sessions in government departments to educate them about who we are, all during History Month, all during Mi'kmaq History Month. We're invited into these organizations to educate them about the Mi'kmaq, educate them, during this month. And I think this needs to go, all year round. They do need to be some catching up to do, to really talk about many issues: healthcare, education, social justice, treaties, residential school, you name it. Um, there's a webinar for that. I'm sure we can deliver those,
That
Amanda.
needs to, yeah.
Yeah, that needs to happen. And I've been in just today. We did a ceremony at the Avon River where they are protecting. They're hoping that the government will open up the fish passage so that the salmon can spawn.
Mhm.
And we went down there and did water ceremony. And I met 2 DFO officers that came to that ceremony and that gathering. And they invited me to do a talk for them, training for their staff regarding treaties and regarding the protection of the water. So I told them I could teach him a little bit about the role of women as water protectors and the role of our women to protect the water for our future generations and the species, the flyers, the swimmers, everything, everybody, um, everything that depends on clean water to live. And they were really open to that. So to me, that was a blessing today. A little,
That is a blessing, and it's very
yeah,
nice to hear that
Mhm.
those
some,
things are still happening in the middle of all of this.
yeah.
Amanda, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, this is very difficult to understand. This is 21st century. We're in
Mhm,
Canada,
Mhm.
mhm.
and a group of adult men going around drinking, intimidating people, and kicking a smudge ball out of a hand
Yeah.
of a woman who's sitting down and just praying. And then
Mhm.
now take this on water. I mean, you go on water every day.
Mhm.
Those boats are have a very shallow back, and it's very dangerous to be on those boats. I mean, you know how it is to be on those boats.
Mhm.
During saying that, there was one boat out there with 100 boats around it.
It, I think
Like,
that,
how
I
dangerous
think,
is that to
oh,
attack
it's
somebody
the,
like?
and when you look at the size of those commercial vessels that they were using, they're huge. Even if they just had a regular size fishing vessel, it would, even just one other
Mhm.
commercial fishing vessel against a regular size fishing vessel, it would be overwhelming. And I think that on the outside, people don't realize the imbalance
Mhm.
and the really, like when you look at the numbers, I love that graphic where it shows like the amount of commercial fishermen and then the
Yeah,
amount of the native
Yeah,
fishermen. And
yeah.
yeah.
like people, it, it takes me back to when I was working on documentary about the crisis in Burnt Church.
Mhm.
And there was this really, really like angry, violent man, saying the things that he thought should happen to us, like, I'll put them on buses and take them out to work at factories and stuff like that. And he was super like, blah, adamant and angry. And then Danny's brother, James, he was very composed and calm and telling his side of the story. And I put them together in the documentary, went against each other. And the other man who was helping us, the non-native man who was helping us with this documentary, I mean, this is back in 2002, he was like, you can't do that. You can't put this against this. It's too much of an imbalance. And I told him, no way, it's staying like that, because that is
That's what it
really
is.
how it is.
That's
That is
real.
really how it
That's
is.
what
It's
the
real.
reality is. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think that everybody, like in the rest of Canada, realize that, yeah, that's real. That is really how it is. There are
That is
these
real.
few little boats,
Yeah.
and there's this giant fleet of commercial, gigantic boats
Mhm.
going after them, and nobody is, like, DFO's not doing anything, RCMP
Mhm.
are not doing anything. If it was the other way around, if those few little boats tried to attack those commercial fishermen, oh well, my God, there'd be like choppers,
Yeah.
there'd be planes, there'd be a million DFO boats, there'd be attacking our people, the DFO and the RCMP, for going after them. That's the narrative
Mhm.
that would come out in the media
Yes.
and
Yes.
across Canada. That's what they would see. Canada needs to see the
And I'm
reality,
glad.
like Dorene was saying. That one little boat was going out there. You know, the moms, the hearts are breaking on the shore watching as this
Yeah.
is folding out. Like, even just hearing about it, it's like, oh my God, like, it's so hard. And, you know,
It's very, yeah.
yeah. And that's
You
like
know,
the education. The education needs to
you
be
know,
out there.
I've been in revolution. I've been in war. You know, my father died in war. But you know what? The picture that Doreen just gave us, it's scary. It's scary. I mean, just imagining her niece and nephew, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and faced with this man drinking and trying to start a fight. Basically, trying to start a fight, and
The
knowing that the police is standing by and not doing anything,
but
knowing
here's
that
the
you have
thing.
that protection. That's very
If
scary.
if the native men had retaliated, the police would have stepped in then.
Yes,
Mhm. Yeah.
Then they
and
would
it's
have stepped in.
amazing that the
That's,
people
yeah. And
are
I
being
believe like that.
so composed and
Well, you know, even our
yeah,
chief was attacked at that at that same time.
yeah.
You know, and the police were present. You know,
Mhm.
it was really that. I think that was that could have started something as well. You know, his leadership. You know, to say this that we are doing what is right, and to
That is right.
just
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
All the
just,
power to you, Doreen, and the people. I
Oh yeah.
really
he was
commend
really
you on
strong.
the
The people
keeping
around
people
him,
safe.
they were really strong. I
Yeah.
gotta say that they were being led by spirit. I really believe that. You know that these, and they were being protected. It was they had to be for you know nobody to get hurt and yeah at that time because it was really volatile, violent. You know, um,
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours of that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it was not. It didn't stop, and so I think what's happening now is I don't believe what's happening is like known by the public, but I think that you know Canada has not spoken about this issue. Canada, the you know the government
Hmm.
they talked about m- I when you say they want to interpret what our treaties mean.
Hmm.
They want to interpret what a moderate livelihood means. I think we're in a better position to talk about what that means to us than they are to define that. I mean, they already had the court to redefine what the Marshall decision was in Marshall too. They, you know, they needed a clarification. Well, we can clarify what a moderate livelihood means to our people, and we don't need the fishermen, the commercial fishermen, sitting at that table to tell us. Well, I told them they can sit there and tell us how much they made last year, and that's maybe that maybe they should maybe they should come in and tell us how much money they made each one, so that we can make a little comparison there about what our
But we're hearing this from the Mi'kmaq Malice, the Pastor Malgadi, and Penobscot, that there will be no new negotiations. People are and we're hearing this in a very unified voice. With a new leadership that we keep hearing from people. There's a new leadership amongst the people in the communities. And it's amazing. I really have to commend you, Dorene, and you and others to keep the people safe, and you know, whatever it is that you're doing, it is people like you that keeping the people safe, because those guys were after a fight and trying to entice especially the young men to retaliate. And you people like you, rest of the community, kept them composed and
grandmother standing beside me,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
without all of us women together, standing together, and to on that front line, and keeping our people calm, and our young people calm, and those prayers, I'm sure, you know, they were following our lead, I guess, you know, and I was thankful for that, to have the women, you know, at the front, to keep that peace and to try to talk sense to both our young people and those grown men, you know, that grown men, and young men that were there to really and try to antagonize our people into a fight.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, I told them, we're the ones they're going to arrest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we retaliate, they're not going to arrest 100,
No.
200 of them.
No.
They're going to take the dozen or so here, you know, away. So we need to hold it down, and to be here to protect us. We need to protect our.
Well done.
All of us to stay together. Yes.
Well done.
Yeah, keep that
Dorene,
unity.
we have so much. Sorry, Amanda. Go ahead.
No, that's all I said. No, they're doing a great job.
They're doing a great job, I have to say. Dorene, it seems like we have so much more to talk about. I wanted to talk to Kayla so much more, and I guess we need to do another one next week. I promise that, because people need to be hearing all of this. These are very important things. If you're out there, please share. We've gone over our time quite a bit, but we have another guest. I'm going to say thank you and goodbye to Dorene. And please keep talking, everybody, and share these conversations. This will remain on YouTube and Facebook and other places. Please go and share them and tell others. Dorene, thank you very much. And I'm really sorry for what you had to face and continue to face with this situation. But I think it's important that you come back and we continue this and have more conversations about this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to bring Tammy Clair. Hello, Tammy.
Hi.
How are you? And thank you for being with us.
Hi, I'm well. Thank you for having me. Hi, Amanda.
I'm sorry that we went over our time, but you could see there are important conversations and very important things for people to hear. So and like I said, we're gonna have to continue this. Yeah, please tell us who you are and where you're coming to us from.
Well, first it was important to have both Amanda and Dorene share what is going on. As non-Indigenous people, we have the opportunity to be that link of change where the change needs to occur, right? In the non-Indigenous world, and that's like education in schools, and whether that's in Canada or the United States. I live in Maine. And I have my husband is from Elsipogtog, He was a fisherman. He certainly has strong feelings, and because of COVID, can't get over to see his family, or he'd be over there participating. That's frustrating, certainly for him. But I think the best thing that we can do, you know, I love the Mi'kmaq people. I love their spirit and the meaning of their life, but I didn't get to learn that until I let down some expectations of what I was taught as a child of what Native people were. And so we can let those things go, that the Hollywood native of what they taught us in school, and let that go and really take the time to learn what our Native people have gone through in life. We can't start to create change and help them with that change. We have an opportunity, we have influence to create the change where it needs to occur, which is not with the Mi'kmaq, it's with non-natives, whether it's in Canada or America. So,
And Tammy, you're in Maine, and
I am.
you know, beside the the boundaries that have been set between Canada and U.S., we know that for Mi'kmaq people, the territory is all the from Newfoundland all the way to Boston, and we see people in all sorts of communities spread over. But especially your family, your husband being a fisherman, and he was in middle of this situation when he was living in the north part of the Mi'kmaq, and now you guys are there. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I want to hear from you and how people, Mi'kmaq communities on that side feel. And is there support? Is there, everybody sees this the same, or they see this as a Canadian issue and it's not affecting them?
Well, we're far away from the Mi'kmaq community up north. There has been some discussion, but I think that they are communicating more as part of that imaginary, that boundary is imaginary. So their connection to their people, that they are supportive. But I feel that as you go down further south in Maine, you hear less and less, and we certainly don't hear anything on the news about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only way we know is by reaching out to family and finding out what's going on.
And how do you take that news and then share it amongst the kids and in the family and in the community? How does that work?
Well, I
because
think
now we're talking about a different system of network amongst the people, because it's not getting a lot of things that we just heard today is not coming through our media.
No,
not in Canada, not in US. But now the rest of the that community being in US, you're saying they hearing even less, but you are hearing about it. So
yes.
There's a network amongst the people themselves. So tell us about that and how things are.
Well, it's social media really is the prime key. Other than my phone calls to people in Canada that I'm close to, getting that firsthand information, and then kind of disseminating it to my family, they wouldn't know about what is going on unless we spoke about it. And same with, we know the Augustines, they live in the southern Maine. So, I think that there's that network of discussion of what's going on, but I don't think it's getting out there in the non-native land. It is not. I think that all my neighbors, every neighbor around me would not have an idea of what is going on.
And those Augustines you're talking about, they're actually from El Sibuktuk.
Yes.
Where Kayla is living now.
Yeah. And they live in southern Maine. So they're away too. So there's a lot of native people who are not in Canada that live in Maine, of course, but they still have that connection.
And we heard last week from the two guests we had, the men, that the support from all over the Turtle Island is different. We're seeing a different kind of connection and support from people all over. Do you see this in your area for what's happening right now in Nova Scotia?
I see it personally from my family, whether it's a phone call to family or friends, asking them how they are, checking in, what, you know, and just learning about what's going on. I don't know if there is a bigger outreach than that, than taking that personal responsibility of reaching out to family. I think there needs to be more. We need to reach out more to more people, the media, but I think it's going to fall on deaf ears. I think that is no matter how much you try. I remember the hack when they were the fracking protest, and I called all the radio stations because in the news media, why aren't we hearing anything about this? And I'm talking to people. They say, oh, we'll look into it, but you still never heard anything.
Yes,
They still never did anything.
Amanda, earlier we were talking about, you know, the education cannot be on the back of your people educating about it. And that's exactly what Tammy's saying.
I think, like, and that's another thing that I find is hopeful, like, through all of this negativity and everything that's happening, there are positive things, and like we have to follow those things. Again, in the knitting community, I've had ladies from across Canada check in on me and say, how are you doing during all of this? We're just hearing about it on the media. How are you personally? And, you know, how is this affecting you and everything like that, which is amazing and wonderful. They're also, you know, like I said, sharing different posts and literature and things like that. So there are definite signs of hope. And like, it's the same thing as social media has been. In some ways, you see a lot of venom coming towards our people, you know, when they're making certain posts and things like that. But then again, there's the positive as well. Like I said, like I've experienced from different ladies across Canada, just reaching out. And then, like I said, putting it out there, like we stand with Treaty 1752, you know, putting down on their wall, and like daily little posts here and there. And it's just like that old Halo commercial. You tell two friends and they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. So, and if we can keep the narrative in that direction, like on our, like giving our perspective and keep the narrative there, then little by little more people they'll get to know it, and they'll want to know more. So they will do the research. They're going to read the posts. They're going to say, okay, well, what is this? What is happening with this? And I think that that's the thing that needs to be ignited, is that the education needs to start, like we said before, right at the ground level, in school, everything like that. So that, again, that unity, like we need to unify. We don't need to be turned into your average Canadian. We need to be ourselves, but that needs to be accepted. You know what I mean? Like the non-native people need to be educated and accept this is how it is. And it's nothing that's hurting them. It's nothing that's taking away from them. It's nothing that they have to be defensive about. This is just the way it is. And it's going to take lots of time. It took all these years to get here. It's going to take time for it to happen. But there is light. There is hope.
Yes, absolutely. Tammy, Amanda's talking about, you know, finding whatever network that works for you, whatever networks you're part of. You need to talk about these important issues.
Absolutely.
And yes, so we can't just rely on government to make some change. We can't just sit and wait for the school system or university or primary grades to make change. You have whatever is available to you. You go and talk about these things.
And as far as the
So how is
education,
it in your community? Yeah.
as far as the educational piece, I think we have to, even though it does need to happen in the schools, we have to start in the government sector. We have to start with the Department of Education. Doreen mentioned about them inviting her to do. We have to pressure that, and you have to pressure changes in academic structure. And then it funnels down until we can make those changes at the higher level, and then at the municipal level, then we get to see that change. And whether that is for our Native communities, any of our brown communities, our Black Lives Matter, whatever marginalized people that are being affected by systemic racism. We have to start at a government level.
Because it speaks
Go ahead,
directly
Amanda.
to that. Because it speaks directly to that, because it is so systemic that there are people who think that, well, I'm not racist, I don't have a problem, but it's so part of who they are that they don't even realize. They don't even realize, and it is people in government, it is people, wherever. And it's true, there needs to be education with them as well. They have to realize that, okay, wait a minute, yeah, I do that. I call Native people you people, and it's hurtful, and they don't even realize. If it was the other way around, then maybe they would realize, but they've never been in that kind of situation where they've been spoken to that way or treated that way or whatever it is. So yeah, you're totally right.
Many people are really blind to their privilege, thinking that I haven't done anything that is racist, but is not checking their privilege is what is causing harm and discriminating. The majority of the cases is actually that people don't check on their privilege, that they always had the microphone, they always had the rooms, they always had the table, they always had the the gate with the key, and those are privilege, and people forget to check on that. Tammy, thank you so much. Again, I'm sorry that we went over time and we kept you, but
you should have known.
I'm glad you were able to share with us. I thought it was important that we hear that the Mi'kmaq community is much bigger than what we see in our map in schools, and it goes across the border for these communities. Those borders don't exist. They cross those borders all the time, and people have relations back and forth. That's what I wanted to hear, and again, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Miss you, love you, bye.
You love you, bye.
Amanda, we had wow, I understand we went half an hour over our time, but my God, there's so much we need to work on. I mean, just the stuff that Dorene was saying to us and the stuff Kayla was saying. I mean, these are real big, hurtful things happening to people, and
it all speaks. It all speaks to the systemic racism 100%, because within what's happening, how the DFO are acting, how the RCMP are acting, even how the non-native fishermen are acting. And when you look at Dorene, she took the time to speak with that woman, and the woman starts kind of why like speak to her humanness, and start to see like, okay, yeah, this is not right or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so like they have forgotten like the Acadian, they're not every Acadian. I can't speak to everything,
Of course.
but in general, and that's what makes it systemic. If the
That's what makes
proper
it
history, if the proper history had been taught from the beginning, then we wouldn't see this.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be the same. They were always our allies. We protected them. I'm sure there were times they helped us as well with different things. It was a peaceful coexistence. And I think there are times and there are things, and there's always hope. And of course we have friends and allies still, and we just want to build on that. And
Mhm.
It's hopeful, but it's going to be a lot of work, like for a lot. Like it's going to be a lot of work for our children when our children come.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, like for our children, it's going to be work for them too. We can only do so much in our lifetimes, and there'll still be work for them. Our grandchildren are still going to have to work on it. It's going to be on and on and on. But we're forgiving people, but we can't forget. We can't forget where we came from, the messages from our ancestors, who we are, all those kinds of things. And that's what's going to help us get to another level.
My daughter growing up, I've always have said this, she will not be apologetic as I was about the issues. I don't think our children, your daughter, my daughter, they're not going to be apologetic about any of this. They're just gonna it scares me sometimes, but at the same time, I know that I gave her that freedom to feel that we should not compromise in the face of racism and discrimination. And that's what I see from from our children. I don't think they'll be dealing with these issues same as we have.
No, it'll change by the time they're whatever things are going to come up when they're things are changing now, and it will change, but they will have their things that they're going to have to fight for sure.
Amanda, we have to do this again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have to do this again. I really thought, we have to do this again. We have so much.
You have to set up
more. So many other people we need to hear from, and I'm going to do everything I can to put these things out and promote them so more people hear from them. Yeah, and thank you so much for helping me today with this.
And
I really hope that I was respectful, and yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
It was great. Thank you for doing this. And it's really important. We have to use whatever venues we can to get, like you say, this like positive message, positive airspace, social media space, whatever it is, to just get the message out there. Like it's not, and like I said, it's not gonna hurt anybody. That's not the issue. Just that the education needs to get out there. Things have been presented wrong for all this time. Well, now we got to make up for it.
Or just simply people need to be heard and talk. Just simply people need to come and talk. Maybe not necessarily thinking that their talk might do something, but it was doing something for themselves. It's good for us. It's good for those who hear it. Thank you very much again, Amanda. It
Thank
was very
you.
nice to see you.
Yes, I see you too.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Everybody, thank you very much. I'm sorry that we went over time, but you saw, I mean, such important issues. And so please share, and this will remain on social media. It will stay on my YouTube channel. It will stay on Facebook, on Twitter. Please share them and keep talking about these issues. These are very important issues to all of us. Thank you very much again. Bye.